Hey guys, rockmonkey here. I played on NV professionally for 2 years, and now I am currently in the PPC. Little disclaimer is I took a break from the game for a while, so this could be my best guess as to what the ranked meta is currently in Darkness and Dragons. First of all, my favorite, Androxus, I believe is A tier, very strong pick, but not broken. Good range, good mobility, good damage, good dueling capacity. Along with him, I believe Puck is very strong and ranked as well. He can kind of fight more often and sustain himself a little bit better. Although he doesn't have quite the burst or bragging potential, he does make up for it with some DR and some defensive mechanisms. Put Maeve up there as well. She's the most mobile of the bunch and she has the best range. A little bit of DR, pretty solid. I don't have any complaints about her. And she got a pretty cool card where she can use Prowl more frequently. Put Eevee back up here. She's probably one of the strongest flanks, probably more so than Maeve. She's got good range like Maeve, but she can sustain herself better than Maeve can, and she can go in and out with less risk than Maeve can. Pretty strong character. For Xin, he's not actually. He's a little bit weaker. Xin is strong if verticality isn't required. He's got good range only with the third strike. Guillotine for the tank's pretty nice, but you know, he doesn't have the sustain Buck has or the DR. He doesn't have the mobility really anyone else has. Doesn't have the hit scan reliability of Andro. It's kind of like a little bit weaker than all the other ones. I actually think Coke is pretty bad, but I believe in him, so I'll put him at C. Yeah, he doesn't have the range the other characters have, and yeah, honestly feels a little bit clunky and just weak to me. Easy to punish his windows. Moji can go hang out with him. I think Moji's really strong if she's strong, but she sucks most of the time against good players, that is. She's kind of like a ranked stomper if you can get her in a good spot. I think Tal's pretty bad. He's good on console because of the tracking, but just once he gets CC'd, I think he just really gets owned. He's pretty easy to predict with his pushes. Sky, similar situation. Kind of easy to predict, countered by Illuminate. Doesn't have amazing range, doesn't have really much mobility going on. Just has a surprise factor going for her and melting capabilities. I think Lex sucks. He doesn't really have anything going for him. Seems like he's kind of like a worse Andro right now. Like a really bad Andro. He's really easy to punish right now. My old main. She's solid and she does everything. She doesn't have verticality, but she's got an okay ult. Used to be nuts. She's got good range, good burst, decent sustain. She's got a little bit of everything, but not nearly what she used to be. BK is kind of nuts right now. Got a little bit of sustain with some cards, got reload, pretty hard to catch him off guard. Good crowd control, pretty good ult, good mobility, good range. He's just solid, except he can win fights that Cassie can't, just because of the massive DPS he can do with the sticks. I'll go ahead and put Drogue here. I think he is actually more of a B- because he's more situational than Cassie and Xin, but he's strong when he's strong. Open maps, not so good against snipers, and good hit scan, not so good. I think Dredge is really good when he's good on ice mines, maybe Stone and Jag, got some potential. Pretty bad on a lot of maps though. Imani, pretty bad. I don't really see a reason to use her. Maybe on ice mines for the dragon. I'll put Kin and B. I think she's really solid. And actually her sustain is kind of nuts right now with the heal and full charge shot. Heal on Telly as well. Strix I think is a little bit stronger just because he has options for getting aggressive and he's harder to duel and force engagements on. Doesn't quite put out the same amount of damage over time Kin does when free firing, but I think the safety and the little unexpected stuff he can do is worth it. I'll put Leon high C. She is pretty lackluster after the caught nerfs and everything, and her ult got nerfed, and she still has a bug with her presence where it doesn't do max damage. She kind of gets outclassed a bit. Shaw I think is a bit underrated. I'd play him much more if he didn't have FPS drops, but 3 strong talents, good dual potential, good at breaking shields, good at just putting damage out there at a range safely, good at making plays. He's just kind of does everything. Let's say pip damage is probably like a C-. Not much reason to use him. Doesn't seem like he puts out the damage he's supposed to, and he's countered a lot by the hit scan flanks. Snipers counter him, Drogo's counters him. He's just got a big headshot hitbox, and he was good into aggro tanks because of the chickens. Not really as necessary as it used to be. Actually just started playing with the Tiger. Tiger seems pretty good. He actually might be a B+. Got good dueling potential if he can set it up properly. Good damage, good range, good mobility, solid ult for diversion, repositioning, and damage. Can't wait to try him out some more. Victor, I think, is one of the strongest champions right now, just because of how the meta shifted and how life rip and healing works right now. Just outputs a lot of damage, and it's really hard to displace him at the moment. It's even really hard to duel him right now with all that life rip he has going on, high DPS. Not really impressed by Tyra. She's stronger on the console scene for sure, but she just feels easy to bully. Her fire grenade is pretty predictable and easy to play around. Her ult is kind of bad, doesn't really have any mobility options, not the best. Vivian I'd put up there with Victor. She kind of feels like a easier, more mid-rangey kind of Victor. She does more DPS and she's harder to duel, but she does less damage at a range. I think Willow might be a little bit underrated now. I'm not going to put her in D. The full caught is a pretty big advantage she has right now, since everyone else is capped at 75. Good damage, good mobility, good ult, and maybe a little underrated. I think Ying is kind of a nuts damage, if she can work. Good range, good DPS, self-sustain, of course, good ult, pretty good mobility, although it's a bit hard to figure out. She's kind of floaty, but I think she's strong. A- maybe at the worst. I think damage Grover is pretty nuts with the root, and our Rezel is weaker than it used to be at the moment. Really hard to outtrade him, and if you're trying to outtrade a Grover as a damage, you're usually wasting your time. I think Grok's pretty bad. I almost want to put him in D tier because I haven't seen anything impressive from him. His right click is not very useful. His left click for caught spread isn't as good as it used to be. Just doesn't do much damage in his left click, and he's kind of awkward to heal with. His ult's pretty good though. He's okay situationally on some maps against some comps, I would say. Io is a really strong healer with an interesting mechanic where she can pressure cap without putting herself in danger. So it frees up her team a lot, and her tanks especially. She could be ran as a solo tank comp or a double tank comp, and it works either way. Pretty nuts. Genos, I think, is pretty good. I think a lot of times he could be A tier because of how useful he is in ranked and pocketing Buck or just any flanker really with the Genos pocket. It's kind of nuts. I almost want to put him A tier, but I think he's a little easy to punish. He's easy to play though, so I think that makes him kind of strong. Cyrus kind of sucks. Fury, I would say, is right up with the best of the healers. Pretty healthy healer meta overall. Pretty good ult on Furia. Good mobility. Good at dueling. Pretty solid. Kind of think Dom was weaker than Genos, especially in ranked because he's kind of difficult to pull off. He doesn't quite frag as hard as a couple of the other supports, and his ult takes more coordination to play off of. Just doesn't do that much damage. Khan, strongest off tank right now. Not quite as frag as he used to be, but the stun does a lot, and the ult is still the best ult in the game. Ashe, a little bit worse than Khan. Off tank role. Can't be played as a solo tank like Khan can, but still pretty solid. Good for engaging with. I'd say Nara's the best point tank right now. Pretty easy to play, easy to keep alive. Really solid. Say Barrack is right up there with the Nara. He's a little bit easier to headshot, but he has some options with jiggling around cover that's short. It's got a pretty strong ult, maybe a little underrated right now. Definitely a little bit harder to play than a Nara. I think Rom is really strong if there's no CC on the other team, but usually there's some counter. He has so many, and it's a little bit hard to carry with him because of his low DPS and giant hitbox and slow movement speed, well, while firing anyway, but he can be strong. And then Nando is pretty weak, not really scary as an off tank, not really that impressive as a point tank. He is okay at pocketing a damage and escorting them, but not really that amazing. I do think Makoa has potential to be B tier, but he is very difficult to play because his hook is so complicated. I think he's a little unexplored right now for what he has. Interesting to see if he comes up to B tier soon, maybe with a new build or something. Term, I'm just gonna say B tier because he is so strong when he's strong on ice mines or jag, or especially in ranked games when people feed damage to him in a siphon. He can kind of go on a killing spree a little bit with free charges. Really strong in ice mines, small maps. I think he's pretty solid. He's just bad on like fish and timber and stuff like that. I think Ruckus has potential. I think he's a good tank. It's got good range, good rockets, good mobility. It's just a bit difficult to play because he doesn't play like other tanks. I think there is more of a reason to pick him than Fernando. Torv, I want to say, is D tier. It's pretty easy to counter him, and it's really risky and difficult to make him work, especially in ranked. Even if you're a duo partner and you want to pocket somebody, it's hard to make it work because you're pretty much putting it all on that one person. I think he's a bit weak right now. I could give Atlas C. I think he has potential to be B, but I haven't been impressed with an Atlas, and they're quite difficult to play. High skill ceiling and a bit punishing. And Corvus is a mystery. I've yet to play him, but I'll try to play him soon. Alright, that's the tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, little disclaimer. I haven't been playing too long. Just an opinion of a returning player, trying to get a gauge on things. Feeling pretty good about it.